Rage was flowing through his blood as if it was rage itself. Jungkook was reaching the peak of his anger. Every ounce pain that he was feeling was all being turned into fury. Every breath that he took had an excruciating stabbing pain that came along with it, but he ignored. It was the best he could. He entered the room to see his father, shocked that he survived the explosion. The one person they were supposed to kill and they fucking missed it. He snarled angrily while trying to break his chains. Jungkook stood in front of the chair as he held the knife in his hand. His clothes were torn and blood was seeping from his body at an alarming rate, but that wasn't going to stop him from getting his revenge. He ran the knife along his father's neck gently. It would be too quick for all that he put him through. You are vile and evil to the bone. The world will be glad to be rid of such a nasty man, he uttered, making little cuts on his chest. I bet those wounds hurt only a matter of time before you pass out from blood loss. His father smoked evilly. Oh, and I'm not the evil one, you are, he muttered. His words somehow shocked Jungkook. You think I'm the evil one? He grumbled as he made a little slash on his cheek. I'm not evil, you are the evil one. You killed my mother and abused me for years. He spat at him. Bullshit, your mother was a sacrifice and you were a mistake, but either way you are a pure evil. Your heart is made of stone, and you don't feel emotions whether you pretended to or not. Some stupid girl isn't going to change the fact that I raised you to be the reincarnation of the devil. He had a raised voice while he spoke. It reminded Jungkook of when he was a child. Well, what you created will be your own downfall. How does it feel to lose, father? He grinned. You are not win yet. His father grumbled. You will lose. You will always lose, he shouted. Enough talking. Jungkook spoke with a demanding tone. He ran the knife along his throat. You don't understand how long I have wanted to do this for, he mumbled. I'll say hi to your mother for you. He smiled sarcastically. She won't be where you are going, he grumbled, punching him across the face as hard as he could in his weakened state. He shook his hand as his father spat blood from the side of the chair. Nice to know that he have still got it. Do it already, his father uttered. I didn't know you wanted to die so badly. I would have killed you months ago, if that was the case. He shrugged. Fuck you, father. He grumbled before he ran the knife along his throat. Blood gushed from the wound across his neck while he tried desperately to breathe. That's for mom, you piece of shit. He growled at him as he cleaned the knife with the cloth his guard had gotten him. He was still alive but slowly dying. Jungkook stabbed him through the chest just to make sure he would definitely die. Jungkook walked out of the room. He would love to watch his death, but he have to make sure he don't die himself. Suddenly, as he reached the living room, the exhaustion hit him. His adrenaline was gone and he was left light-headed. Are you okay, boss? His guard asked. Call Taeyong. He managed to blurt out before he collapsed on the ground. Everything was fading into darkness, but he only had one thought: thank God his father finally dead. Part of him knew that his death was too quick to simple for all the pain he had caused, but he can rest now. The room went black and he quickly lost consciousness. You stood in front of the mirror, staring at yourself, staring at all the little imperfections on your face, trying to distract your thoughts from one thing. You pulled out your phone and scrolled through it for a while until you worked up the courage to look at it. Your heart was pounding as if it could beat out of your chest, and your palms were getting sweaty. Deep breaths, Ryan, deep breaths. You kept trying to tell yourself to calm the panic that was bubbling up from inside your stomach. You closed your eyes and put the phone back in your pocket. You really didn't want to open them, but you had no choice. You took a deep breath as you glanced down at the pregnancy test. It was positive, and you are pregnant. Hey Ryan, I need to speak to you, Taeyong said with a quiet tone but banged down the door. Your hand cupped your mouth as tears filled your eyes. You didn't want to be pregnant now. You are not ready yet. Yes, you wanted a child, but at least not now. When everything is mess in your life. Even worse, what will Jungkook think? Ryan, please, it's urgent. Taeyong urged. You could hear the desperation in his voice. You quickly tried to calm down to talk with him before you opened the door. What is it? You asked curiously, blinking back the tears. I think you should sit down for this. He stared at you with an intense look in his eyes. Okay, let's go to the living room then. You mumbled, while also being very weirded out by the fact that the young was being so serious. You sat on the couch and he sat across from you. He gulped before he spoke. Jungkook is in critical condition. He is in the hospital. There's a very high possibility of death. He blurted out suddenly, but carried guilt in his eyes. What? You uttered quietly as tears rolled down your cheeks. How? You choked on your words. His father. Taeyong's eyes watered as he tried desperately to hold them back. Ice appeared suddenly sitting next to you. He had someone set off of a bomb and Jungkook was outside with it as it exploded. The young mumbled. Stop, you muttered as you began to sob. He's going to die? You sobbed uncontrollably. There's a 15% survival rate. It would have been higher if he hadn't of been so determined to kill his father and went straight to the hospital after the explosion. Ice informed. I don't need to hear that shit. You yelled with tears streaming down your face. I don't want to hear that. Jungkook is going to die, okay? He will survive. He has to. You collected yourself before remembering one major detail. I'm pregnant, you gasped. I'm pregnant. What if he dies? You felt lightheaded as you sat back down on the couch. Ice and Taeyong just stared at each other in dismay and disbelief. If it does, then I'll help you to raise the child. Taeyong spoke up. Taeyong hates children, he always has, yet he would be willing to raise one with you. No, I won't. Jungkook, you whimpered. Can we go see him? You jumped up suddenly. That's probably not a good idea with the state that he is in, Taeyong admitted while shaking his head. Who owns the mafia if Jungkook's die? Your worried expression only growing. You do. Eyes glance at you. He wrote your name down as higher. Well, I demand to see Jungkook then, you stated angrily. Eyes looked at Taeyong, who was staring at the floor. Fuck it, she ordered it. Taeyong shrugged, hopping up from the couch and walked out of the front door. Watch him, Ryan. This is affecting me a lot, more than what he is showing. Eyes whispered to you as you both walked out to the car. The car ride to the hospital was completely silent except for the last 5 minutes. You are pregnant? Taeyong asked curiously. Yeah, you shook your head. How? He asked confused. I skipped the pill and Jungkook knew that. The protection must have broke. You uttered uncomfortably on the back. Taeyong and Ice were sitting in the front. Jungkook didn't die that day, although there was a few scars there during the recovery. It was hard and brutal on Jungkook, but he never showed it. Throughout it, he was always making sure you was the one who was okay. You decided to tell him about the pregnancy not long after he woke up, and his response was as expected. You sat by Jungkook's hospital bed. You had to use fake names so that you weren't recognizable to people in the hospital. Not many people know how what Jungkook looks like. They would only know his name and the mafia's name, the Reapers. Are you okay? You have been acting strange ever since I woke up, he voiced while laying back on the white bed, the burns on his arms visible from the explosion. You gulped as you worked up the courage to tell him. You decided it would be best to blurt it out once since Jungkook hates when people don't get straight to the point. The feeling in the pit of your stomach was growing. You felt like getting sick. I'm pregnant, you blurted out. That was a lot of easier than what you thought. Jungkook froze at your words, holding the cup of coffee near his mouth. He put the coffee down and blinked a few times before responding. We are not able to have a kid at the moment, Ryan. Just look at the state I am in. He spoke angrily. I wasn't exactly my choice, Jungkook. Why are you blaming me? You spoke angrily at him. Jungkook rubbed his forehead stressfully. You hadn't saw him do that in a while. I don't want an abortion either. You uttered to him. He shook his head, sitting up from the bed. He groaned as he moved. It was obvious he was still in pain and the medicine was not working. I'm not blaming you, love, but okay, looks like we are having a baby even though we are not ready. He shrugged, but you could tell he was still upset. Your birthday was a couple of months ago, so you are 24 now. You are still very young, but you believe you can raise a child, and then when the child is old enough to go kindergarten, you will finish college. There's no point in leaving it unfinished. You might even get a job at cafe when you are older and make some new friends. They are just ideas for now. Jungkook entered the room looking exhausted. Home from work? You raised your eyebrow with a puppy happy tone. I'm exhausted, he mumbled, jumping on the bed. Yeah, I can see. You grinned at him. How's our baby doing? Jungkook grumbled, putting his head on your stomach to try and hear something. You let out a giggle before Jungkook glanced up at you. I love you. He mumbled, staring at you with a calm look in his eyes. I love you too. You responded with a soft tone. I was thinking about names today, and I feel like since we are having a boy, Suho would be better than Sage. Suho, you mumbled. I like it. You agreed. So Suho is final. He questioned. Suho final? You confirmed. Oh, by the way, dinner tomorrow 8 p.m. sharp. Don't be late. He glared at you before pecking you on the lips. I have to go down and help Taeyong and Ice to do some work stuff. But then I'll be back up to watch a movie. Choose the movie wisely. He warned you as he walked out. You smiled at him before he left. Jungkook had finished helping Taehyung and Ice fill out some paperwork. He walked up the stairs and headed into the bedroom. He opened the door to see you laying on the bed sleeping peacefully. He smiled and shook his head. I should have known you would fall asleep, he whispered with a soft smile. You looked so calm and peaceful. You had been in a lot of pain recently from the pregnancy, but you are pushing through. Jungkook knew this would be tough and you mentally and physically. He wasn't exactly in the best shape to have a child either, but he was more scared for you. He is just praying you will have a smooth labor. He quietly walked over to the bed and lay next to you. You snuggled into his chest, waking up slightly from your sleep. Cook, can you rub my stomach? You winced in pain. Of course, baby. He hushed, making you closing your eyes as he ran his hand in circle over your stomach soothingly. It didn't take you long after that to fall back asleep. He moved his hand up to your cheek and gently stroked your face with his thumb. You was flawless, the epitome of perfection. You may have a million flaws, but he can't see them. He has been oblivious to them since he laid his eyes on you. He will never forget that night at the ball. He knew you would change him. He fought so hard against you and what you wanted him to be, but the harder he fought, the more he hurt you. He don't know what happened or when he changed, but all he knows is that the man he is now would have never been if it wasn't for Ryan Diaz. A light tap on the door snapped him out of his thoughts. The door creaked open, letting light shine through. Everything is prepared for tomorrow. Just thought to let you know. Ice whispered from the door. He nodded and left. He drifted into darkness. Jungkook was taking you out for dinner today. You told him that you didn't have to go anywhere fancy for you to be happy and that his company alone was enough. But of course, Jungkook responded with, I have to treat my girl. You didn't expect anything less from Jungkook and his stubbornness. He was determined to go to Fancy's restaurant and treat you like the queen. He told you that to check your wardrobe for a surprise. You opened it to see a gorgeous skin-tight black dress with jewelry to go along with it. It was super stretchy so it would fit over your bum. You slipped into the dress quickly and threw on a pair of heels. You really didn't want to wear heels because they would hurt your feet, but you You can't wear inappropriate shoes to the dinner. You stood up and walked out of the bedroom. The baby was kicking. Taehyung walked out of his room, suddenly almost knocking you over. Taehyung, you gasped, almost falling over. Shit, is the baby okay? His face became suddenly tense. He stared intensely at your stomach for a moment before looking at you. Yeah, he's fine. You smiled slightly. Are you sure you should have been wearing those? He muttered with his eyebrows raised, pointing at your heels. I'll be fine. You reassured him before walking down the stairs. You saw Jungkook waiting in the living room for you. His eyes were glued to your body as soon as you entered the room. My eyes are up here. You grinned before sitting next to him. You are stunning, he muttered before he placed his hand on your stomach. Does the fitting of dress is okay? He asked curiously. Of course, you smiled at him. My due date is around the corner, you whispered to Jungkook worriedly as Ice and Taehyung chatted amongst themselves. You glanced down at the floor nervously. Are you scared? He used his finger to lift up your chin, making you look at him in the eye. Obviously, I'm scared. What if something goes wrong? Your voice with a worry look plastered all over your face. I won't let it. You will have the finest doctors delivering our baby. He reassured you. You couldn't stop it even if you tried. You said calmly before kissing his cheek. Boss, our ride is here. Ice informed Jungkook, getting a nod from Jungkook in return. Let's go, my queen, Jungkook uttered as he took your hand and helped you to get up from the sofa. You arrived at the restaurant with the head chef greeting you both at the door. Taehyung and Ice came along. Also, Jungkook didn't seem too bothered by it. There was a lot of people here tonight, but your chef made sure that you both got a table on the roof. It was a nice day out. The sun had almost set fully, leaving the sky in a dark pink color. You looked at the sky in awe. It is moments like this that you take a deep breath in and realize that your life couldn't be any more perfect in this moment. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. There was a slow song playing, and some of the couples got up to dance. Come, dance with me. Jungkook smiled happily, pulling you out of your seat. You didn't have much of a choice after all. I don't know how to slow dance. You giggled as he stood in front of you. Take my hand, he muttered as he guided you through the steps. You both slowly danced along with the song. You laughed as he spun you around and then pulled you back into his arms. The baby bump made it awkward, but got it to work. You wrapped your arms around his neck as Jungkook wrapped his around your waist. Both of your foreheads touched as you both swayed with the song. You stared into his bright brown eyes that were almost twinkling with happiness. You leaned in and kissed him slowly yet passionately. He broke the kiss moments later when the chef announced the main courses. You both sat back on seats. Jungkook was sitting in front of you. Then Ice and Taeyong were sitting at the table across from you, and then there was a few tables around surrounding. You know, when my father had arranged for me to marry someone, I would have never guessed the outcome would be like this. Jungkook smiled as he ate his food. Me either, he agreed.